While we are living, our legacy is still being written. What will it be? How will we be remembered? These are things that we get to choose by how we invest our lives. For Mike Bullard, one part of his legacy is growing in the soil. It's blooming in a place that was once plowed under by progress.
I guess I'd like to lay the groundwork. I've been outdoors my whole life. I see God's hand in nature, and it's my assertion that God's not only the creator but the sustainer of life, and He is intimately involved, and He can orchestrate His creation to, for instance, I recently had some occurrences of birds appearing at certain times when I was in prayer to God that would lead me to believe that that's way more than just a coincidence, and it was God's way of orchestrating His creation to affirm me and reassure me and comfort me. What prompted me to get into prairies more was the quote, "Consider the lilies of the field," Jesus said. "They neither weave nor spin, yet not even Solomon in all his glory," he was the richest dude, was adorned like one of these. If that's how much how much beauty God lavishes on a flower that's here today and thrown into the fire, how much more does He care for you, O you of little faith, is what Jesus said. And He was referring to the fact that we are created in God's image, and God is spirit. So we are not only physical beings, but spiritual beings. It used to be non-existent. So when I bought this, that was an alfalfa field. This was a woodlot. And you know, I've hunted my whole life, and I've walked through the plants in the fall, not knowing really what they are, but planting them has given me a lot of satisfaction because I get to watch them coming up from their little first seedlings of the spring all the way through 8 feet tall compass plants that are set upon by hordes of goldfinch, and it's just changed a lot. And to see the prairie coming back, it's just amazing to see the diversity that's coming back. So this was where the end of the woodland started, and the alfalfa field started right here, over this way. This was all alfalfa field. And this is highly erodible soil out here. And so the prairie plants seem to do well with the very poor soil. I mean, it's sandy, silty. There's some places that are clay. And the meadow voles they destroyed a couple of my trees. It took a while for me to understand the significance of meadow voles. We had like 8 weeks of snow cover, and when the snow melted, it looked like the subway tunnels of New York out here. There was so many tunnels chewed into the grass right to my trees, and they girdled my trees. So yeah, thanks meadow voles. The meadow voles, of course, are food and they make tunnels in the prairie, which then the prairie replants itself in some of the tunnels and mounds that they put up. So they aerate the soil, and they feed the hawks and the owls and the raccoons and everything else. And the bull snakes. Now there's a lot of Queen Anne's lace in here, you'll notice. And the best time to pull it is after a rain, and I have pulled a lot of it, but it's come back. And I liken this to how Jesus told us in the Sermon on the Mount that, hey, if you even harbor an angry thought in your mind, you have, in His terms, done murder. Or if you even covet somebody else's stuff, you've, in His mind, succumbed to being a robber. And so the battle against sin is fought in our thought life, and it's kind of like these weeds. You have to say, when a bad thought crosses your mind, you have to kind of say, yeah, I choose not to entertain that thought, and you pluck it out by the roots so it never comes back. If you say, Jesus, help me weed this out of my thoughts. That's one thing I think about. This is a compass plant. You'll see some big ones of this that I have up that way. And all these are native sunflower called the compass plant. The Indians used to chew on the fibrous white inner sap in there for like chewing gum. This is a rosin weed. These are all not very old. So there's rosin weeds that's 7 feet tall up here. But you'll notice their leaves north-south. That's north up there. I mean, the North Star is right there. And these plants organize themselves north-south so they get maximum sun exposure, especially prevalent on the younger ones, of which we're coming up to some. So see, these are the ones that are just starting to bloom. This is the meadow blazing star. I've got those I can show you. And this is a rattlesnake master. This is a little rattlesnake, like a yucca-like leaf. And this is the flower, this white ball. And they get a brilliant fall color too. This is probably the most purple coneflowers I have, and I harvested them from a sand prairie up by the campfire girls camp. Replanted them here. Purple coneflower, echinacea, you know, they say the root is naturally kind of like aspirin. That mama red-winged blackbird's telling you that she doesn't like you invading her territory. Well, that's a daddy redwing. They each do their part to support pollinators throughout the summer and the fall. They come into bloom when God tells them to, you know. Just a rolling cavalcade of color across the landscape. And this is a gray-headed coneflower, which always confused me since it's a yellow head, but the seed head, after the flowers fade, gets to be gray. Okay, so now we're going to get to these compass plants that are beat down by the torrential storms we had last week. And they were standing straight up, but now you can see they're bent over a little bit and they haven't straightened up totally. And I just wanted to liken that to the necessity of having diversity in the prairie. Diversity, and these prairie plants are, as we know, like we found them when we came to America, genetically as God created them, I see, and beneficial for all kinds of insects and animals, birds and butterflies. If we are created in God's image as spiritual beings, if we could be all that we were designed to be in a community of believers to love one another, if we could have a community that delights in the Lord and revels in His Word and supports one another, even when a storm comes through life that beats you down, you'd have somebody to help straighten you up and walk alongside you. And that's kind of my vision for what the diversification of a prairie would impress upon people, how necessary they are to the community. You know, God has designed this prairie, and when you put those prairie seeds in the ground, you're taking God up on His promise to make those seeds germinate and host a variety of wildlife for you. So much of this is symbolic. You have to look closely with eyes of faith to understand the meaning and significance. Earlier you asked me why I got into prairies, and I said it's because of that verse, consider the lilies of the field, and how much beauty God lavishes upon them and all of His creation, a German brown trout, for example, rainbow trout, and how much more does He care for us?
Mike Bullard's prairie is just a symbol. His legacy is an eternal one, authored by our Creator. Consider the lilies of the field.